Hey everybody. Well, I ordered the wood, received the wood, and started working on the flying machine. Kind of going at it at a extremely slow pace than what I would usually build this plane at, just because it's end of July creeping up onto August. We're still in flying season, so what downtime I have from family and work is spent either flying or maintaining my flyable aircraft. I figured I'd get some work done on it, and I'll show you what I've done so far. So if you follow the instructions, you're supposed to start with the fuselage. As I said in the past video, Don Mudeman has a very nice instruction manual that he sells with his plans. But I always build the tail section first, I can't help it. Now, these are very easy to build because of the templates that you can see piled over there. You cut the templates out, hold them over the wood, trace them. I mean, it literally fits absolutely perfect. I mean, look at that. Very little final sanding or shaping to get the end result. But the way to go about doing this for the best results is you cut out your parts. You got your dorsal fin and the front part of your leading edge of your fin, the main fin itself, your rudder, and your anti-warp counterbalance. Now the reason this is called an anti-warp counterbalance is you look at the rudder, the same as your stabilizer. The grain on the rudder is running vertically, which means it could warp this way from the covering material being on it and being in the heat. Now this counterbalance, having the wood grain go horizontally, so opposite of the rudder, now it's keeping this from warping. So it's a multi-purpose. And the same thing, more so here, this is not that big of an area, so the chances of this warping are very, very slim. But when you look at the stab, you got the long grain, and it's pretty long. So when you get out to the tip, before these tips or the anti-warp tips were put on here, you could grab this and you could really flex it. I mean, you could flex it just like that. But now, once the fuselage is here, it's not going to want to flex or warp in this area here. But when you get out to the tip, it's still vulnerable for flexing and warping. But as soon as you put this anti-warp tip on there with the grain going opposite of the stab, this is rock solid. I mean, this is solid. So as you can see here, everything goes well. And every individual piece has its own template, so you don't have to make any measurements from the plans. You just use the template. Now the reason the control surfaces are taped on there is before, let me start over. I bevel the rudder, I bevel the elevator, and then I butt them up to the fin and stab themselves. So when we hold it up to the light, you can see I got light coming through it, because that gives me my simulated hinge gap. Because once you put hinges in here and slide them together, they're not going to be perfectly flush. There's going to be a little bit of a gap. So I want to simulate that gap. So get that taped on there right where I want it. And then I do my final sanding using a T-bar sander for the overall straight sanding, and a softer, this is either a 60 or an 80 grit for any major shaping I need to do. Because once this was all taped into place, you know, I think on this side the anti-warp was sticking out maybe a 1/16 of an inch further than the elevator. So I was able to take the T-bar sander, true it up this way, and then go over it and round the lead edge. But I don't do any of that final shaping until the control surface is taped on, you know, same here. Because I could have, you know, shaped all this, got it nice and round, and then separately shaped this, and then put the two together and realize, oh, this is too long or this is too short. This way all the final sanding is done when it's in one piece. So this is how it's going to be on the airplane. So that gives it the true nice, true, and straight. So these are done. They're ready to be mounted to the fuselage when I build it. You can see I even marked on there, you know, where it's gonna meet up to the fuselage sides, center line plus the outer edges of the fin. So this will literally sit on there just like that, and I won't even have to measure this when I put the airplane together for final assembly, because I have all of my lines already on there. So now that those are done and out of the way, I'm going to go back to the instructions and follow them to a T, even though I don't need to, because, as I said before, this is the 4th one I've built. But I like to follow them anyway. So the next step is going to be cutting out the fuselage sides, which I have the templates right here. Once the sides are cut out, I'm going to put the triangle stock all the way down the entire bottom of the fuselage sides. Of course, make some lines where my formers and everything are going to be. And of course, there's cutting a relief in the triangle stock, because at this point of the fuselage, at the back of the airplane is where it's going to bend to go and meet the tail. So you have to cut a little relief right there. And then it talks about angling the firewall to match where the top of the fuselage is coming down. Of course, cutting out the bottom piece. So it's very straightforward. Once I get the fuselage, for the most part, framed up, I'll make another video and show you the progress. Later.